Atlantic Television Network, welcome to Global News. First, the highlights. River State Police Command foiled robbery in Oyibo local government area. Speaker Abbas condemns bomb blast killings in Zamfara State. Tinubu departs Lagos for Europe. Port Harcourt refinery supplies diesel, says NMDPRA. Winter storm kills 3 persons in Sweden. Chel Lukman hail Nigeria 3, Tunisia 2 win. Pastor Okafor publicly apologizes to actress Doris Ogala. River State Police Command has successfully repelled an armed robbery operation that occurred in the early hours of December 23, 2025 at Ekweme Street curve Nyiriwai, Afam in Oyibo local government area. The victim, name withheld, put up a strong resistance from the supposedly assailants who fired gunshots, engaged the gang of armed robbers with a pump-action gun who had stormed his compound and was attempting to open his store, resulting in one of the suspects sustaining gunshot wounds, and the wounded suspect was left behind as his accomplices fled the scene on citing the police operatives. A statement signed by the police PPRO, SP Grace Irene Koko, said the police patrol team from AFAM Division, who promptly responded to the scene, recovered the following exhibits: 1 locally fabricated double-barrel shotgun, 1 live cartridge, 1 big iron bar, a hook tied with marine rope, and a button phone. The injured suspect was rushed to police clinic where he was pronounced dead on arrival, and the corpse has been deposited at Resurrection Home Mortuary, Imo River, for autopsy. Investigation is ongoing to apprehend the fleeing members of the gang. The Commissioner of Police, River State Police Command, CP Olubenga A. Adepoju, have commended the bravery of the victim and swift response of the police operatives and assures the public of the command's continued efforts to ensure a safe and secure environment for all residents. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has decried why 600 billion naira state finance was revealed by the River State House of Assembly, warning that such disclosure could expose the state to political opportunists. A2N News reports.
Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has frowned at the River State House of Assembly over the public disclosure of 600 billion naira in the state finance, warning that such transparency could expose the state to political opportunists. Wike made the remark during a historical visit to the Assembly complex in Port Harcourt on Saturday. He also criticized individuals who did not openly declare support for President Bola Tinubu during the 2023 general election, assuring that his sacrifice of his supporters would not be in vain.
Staff and management, particularly the clerk and his colleagues of the State House of Assembly, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really overwhelmed by what I saw this afternoon with members of my delegation. I want to mention to a few people that the important and proper to come to our dear members of the State House Assembly to say thank you for what you've done for us, for what you did for people of the last state. So we have come here today to say thank you. When I came in here, I was emotionally touched. Anybody who entered this complex, I thought by now this complex would have been overgrown with weeds. I don't know any state, I don't know. I stand to be corrected that they will say their state assembly portal is as neat as this. What does it show? Leadership. Leadership. But once you have the right leadership, things will move well.
On his historical visit, Wike appreciated the lawmakers who stood by him during challenging political period, describing the assembly as a beacon of courage and independence.
To continue to lead the assembly, I like the relationship. Don't allow anybody to come and sow seed of discord, because you have stood firm before. What would anybody come and tell you now that will make you to change your mind? But not to do the good work for the people of the state. Yes, we are all working for one man, the president. But let the right thing be done. Let us follow due process.
Earlier, the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Martins Amehule, in his welcome remark, described the event as historic, noting that it was the first time a former governor personally visited the assembly members and their family at their quarters. He recalled that Wike, during his tenure as governor, built the assembly's quarters, a facility he described as one of the best legislative residential estates in West Africa.
This is one thing that we have never witnessed in the Rivers State House of Assembly ever since the creation of the Rivers State, wherein a former governor would think about coming to the House of Assembly to visit members and families of honorable members in the assembly quarters. I don't think it has happened before. Has it happened before? This is the first time. Your Excellency, when the information got to members, they were elated and they assured me that they will be here to receive you. Your Excellency, we thank you because you on your own decided to come. And that is what is interesting, and that is what is unique, and that is why we are so excited.
Key highlights of the event include friendly and fatherly interaction between the minister, the assembly members, and their families, as well as the presentation of a brand new 2025 Toyota Camry to the FCT minister by the lawmakers in appreciation of his visit and support of the legislature.
Of our wives and spouses, on behalf of our children, we present to you keys to a Toyota 2025 Camry car. Thank you, sir.
The visit also featured side attractions including drama and cultural performance. Notable personalities in attendance include lawmakers and their families, Chief Ferdinand Anababa, Chairman, Rivers Elders Council, Rivers PDP Chairman Aaron Chukwemeka, Victor Gedeon, Senator Thompson Sekebo, OCG Okocha, among others. I'm Johnson Wally, Atlantic Television Network, Port Harcourt.
Suspected thugs have stripped naked the chief executive officer of Hosamudia Farm, Don Pedro Obaseki in Benin City, the Edo State capital. This is coming after Obaseki was seen being attacked at Uwa Primary School, where he had gone to play football. Obaseki, a cousin of former Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki, was reportedly taken to the palace and made to kneel at the gate of the Oba's palace, and the suspected thugs reportedly told palace guards that they had brought an enemy of the Oba. Chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association (NMA) Lagos State Branch, Dr. Saheed Babajide Kehinde, has described 2025 as a largely disappointing year for Nigeria's health sector, particularly at the federal level, citing poor leadership, inadequate funding, and a lack of focus on healthcare delivery. In a review of the federal government's health sector activities in 2025, Dr. Kehinde said there was little to no meaningful progress in addressing long-standing challenges, blaming what he described as poor performance by the Minister of Health and Social Welfare and insufficient prioritization of healthcare by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. He also criticized the federal government's handling of repeated strike actions by health sector unions and professional associations, stressing that poor conflict management often resulted in prolonged industrial actions that denied citizens access to essential healthcare services, and further accused the Minister of Health and Social Welfare of placing excessive emphasis on data collection, research and engagement with international partners while neglecting what he described as the core healthcare delivery system. Nigeria's health indices, he said, remained wrongly low in 2025, with poor progress on universal health coverage, limited health insurance penetration, and rising healthcare costs, making services inaccessible and unaffordable for many citizens, and acknowledged modest improvements in hospital infrastructure, particularly in building construction, as one of the few positive developments recorded during the year. The NMA chairman for the proposed the establishment of specialist hospitals, including infectious disease centers across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones, alongside improved security for healthcare workers to reduce burnout, mental stress, and workplace violence. Saying they have mental to development. The reforms have laid a solid foundation for economic growth, both in Nasser citizens to avoid spreading false information. Kebbi State has strengthened its security architecture with the graduation of 819 National Forest Guards trained to protect forest reserves from criminal elements. The guards passed out after an intensive 9-week training program at Calgo local government area and renewed calls on Nigerians to support security agencies with timely intelligence and cooperation. Speaking at the ceremony, Kebbi State Deputy Governor Omar Tafida urged communities and traditional rulers to work closely with the newly recruited guards, stressing that local support remains critical to defeating banditry and other forest-based crimes. The newly trained personnel were drilled in early warning signals, patrol operations, ambush tactics, and the handling of AK-47 rifles, while their training was jointly supervised by the Department of State Services, DSS, the Nigeria Police Force, and the military, underscoring a coordinated national security approach. Tafida said the forest guards would complement existing security formations and help deny criminals the use of forest reserves as hideouts and operational bases. Representing the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, at the event, Commissioner of Police Umar Hadejia said the guards would be deployed immediately to ungoverned spaces and vulnerable forest corridors. Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf following a successful security operation along the Kano-Katsina border in the early hours of Sunday. The Army Public Relations Officer, 3rd Brigade Nigerian Army, Kano, Major Zubair Babatunde, said the operation followed a credible tip-off on the movement of armed bandits from the Daurawa and Kira areas of Katsina State towards the Kano axis. According to him, troops operating from the Forward Operating Base, FOB, Yankwada, swiftly mobilized a fighting patrol to the fringes of the Kano-Katsina border to intercept the suspected bandits. Babatunde said during the encounter, one kidnapped victim, identified as 38-year-old Rabiu Alhaji Halilu, was rescued by the troops, and Halilu sustained a gunshot wound to his leg during captivity and was promptly evacuated to the JTF Faruruwa Medical Center, where he is currently receiving treatment. Items recovered during the operation included 3 motorcycles abandoned by the fleeing bandits, as well as an undisclosed number of cattle believed to have been rustled, while the troops have remained on high alert and intensified patrols in the area to prevent further criminal activities and ensure sustained security in border communities. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Dr. Tajuddin Abbas, has condemned the bomb explosion in Zamfara State that claimed the lives of 7 people. The incident occurred on Saturday when suspected terrorists planted an improvised explosive device along the Magami-Dansado Highway in Maru local government area of the state, and the device exploded as a commercial bus conveying passengers drove over it, killing 7 people instantly. A statement issued on Sunday by his special advisor on media and publicity, Musa Krishi, the speaker described the attack as cowardly and unfortunate, adding that the federal government had introduced new strategic security measures to check criminal activities, stressing that terrorism, banditry, and other crimes against the state would continue to be resisted. He said Nigerians had resolved to support the President Bola Tinubu-led administration in its quest to address threats to life and property across the country, and also pledged the readiness of the National Assembly to provide the necessary legislative and budgetary support to confront the nation's security challenges. He prayed for the repose of the souls of the victims and extended his heartfelt condolences to the families of the deceased, as well as the people and government of Zamfara State. You're watching the Global News and Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break. Welcome back. This is the Global News and Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has departed Lagos for Europe to continue his end-of-year break ahead of his official trip to Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. Bayo Onanugu, special advisor to the President's Information and Strategy, who disclosed this in a statement, said His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates, has invited President Tinubu to participate in the 2026 edition of Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, ADSW 2026 Summit, which will take place in the Emirate early in January. The statement said the week-long summit is an annual event that mobilizes leaders from government, business, and society to chart the next era of sustainable development, adding that the ADSW will connect ambition with action across innovation, finance, and people, showcasing how the world can move forward with confidence. It further said President Tinubu will return to the country after the summit. Spokesperson for the African Democratic Congress, Bolaji Abdullahi, has criticized President Bola Tinubu's decision to travel to Europe amid rising security concerns in the country, describing the move as insensitive and alarming. Abdullahi expressed the position in a statement titled Pibat's lack of care, scary, and posted on his official X account on Sunday, adding that the president had departed Nigeria for Europe ahead of his participation in the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Summit, where he is expected to engage global leaders on climate action, economic reforms, and sustainable development. However, Abdullahi argued that the president's foreign trip came at a troubling moment as the nation grapples with renewed insecurity, including a deadly bomb blast in Zamfara state and heightened public anxiety following the United States military strike on Nigerian soil. According to him, Nigerians were still waiting for reassurance from the president when news of his travel broke, stressing that the president's silence on critical national security issues, coupled with his absence from the country, raised serious concerns about leadership responsiveness at a time of national distress. This is coming after Tinubu departed Lagos for Europe on Sunday as part of his end-of-year break ahead of his official visit to Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates. A statement by the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, on Sunday said the president is scheduled to participate in the 2026 edition of the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week Summit following an invitation from the President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and the summit is expected to be held in January. Parliamentary workers at the National Assembly have expressed opposition to what they describe as persistent violations of the federal character principle in the appointment of secretaries, warning that continued disregard for constitutional provisions could lead to industrial unrest. The Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, National Assembly Chapter, made the demand in a formal protest letter addressed to the chairman of the National Assembly Service Commission and made available to journalists at its headquarters in Abuja on Sunday. The letter, signed by the union chairman, Sabiyi Sunday, and dated December 22nd, drew attention to Section 14, Paragraph 3 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and the Federal Character Commission Act, Cap F7, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2024, which mandate equitable representation of Nigeria's federating units in public appointments. The union chairman expressed concern over what it described as a recurring practice in which states already represented in the secretary cadre are repeatedly favored when vacancies arise to the exclusion of other states within the same geopolitical zone. Basan said it expected the Commission to act swiftly on the matter, stressing that compliance with the law was critical to maintaining harmony with the National Assembly bureaucracy. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has rejected claims that he has pulled out of the 2027 presidential contest, calling the reports false and misleading. This is coming after Atiku, who was the People's Democratic Party (PDP) candidate in the 2023 election, was reported to have stepped aside for Peter Obi, the Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate. The story also claimed that Atiku supported a one-term presidency for Obi in the interest of regional balance. Atiku's media advisor, Paul Ibe, dismissed the reports outright, describing it as fake news, but there are indications that Peter Obi may formally join the ADC. Former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, is set to formally join the African Democratic Congress amid ongoing consultations ahead of the 2027 general elections. A principal official of the party in Abuja on Sunday said Obi had concluded plans to join the party and hold a declaration rally in Enugu, the political capital of the Southeast, on December 31. According to the official, Obi supporters and loyalists had begun arrangements for the defection, and the ADC asked him to make up his mind on joining the party about 3 weeks ago. Met with the national chairman of the party, David Mark, while the party's position might have convinced the former Anambra State governor to finally decide to join the ADC. On December 7, the ADC, while reacting to a statement credited to Obi in which he described the party as unstable, told the presidential hopeful to make up his mind on whether or not to join the coalition. But the ADC National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, said he could not confirm Obi's planned defection. Former Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose has shared documents he says prove that Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde received 50 billion naira from the federal government led by President Bola Tinubu. According to Fayose, the money was approved as emergency support after the deadly explosion that occurred in Ibadan in January 2024. While Governor Makinde had earlier denied this accusation and challenged Fayose to provide proof. In response, Fayose released the documents and claimed that only 4.5 billion naira from the funds was given to people affected by the explosion, adding that the remaining money was used to support Makinde's alleged plan to run for president. A statement signed by Fayose said he made the documents public so Nigerians could decide for themselves whether the Oyo State government has been truthful, insisting that there are records showing that all the financial support sent to Oyo State by Tinubu's administration was never disclosed to the public. Additionally, Fayose claimed he has documents revealing the true internally generated revenue (IGR) of Oyo State, which he said is different from what the governor has publicly stated, that he is confident in his claims and would not make such statements without evidence, saying he still has more documents he may release later if needed. And now to our business news. Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says the Port Harcourt Refining Company, which is currently shut down, is still supplying 349,000 litres of automotive gas oil, otherwise known as diesel, daily. According to the NMDPRA, the refinery which the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited shuts down on May 24, 2025, was still having diesel evacuated into the markets daily. As of November, adding that there are no production activities at the refinery due to its current shutdown mode. While the diesel produced before it was shut down, it was still being evacuated as of November. The shutdown of the Port Harcourt Refining Company for maintenance has entered its 7th month, and the plant is yet to resume operations. This is coming after the immediate past Chief Corporate Communications Officer of the NNPC, Olufemi Soneye, said the refinery would be shut down for 1 month of maintenance. On May 24, Soneye issued an official statement declaring the shutdown of the refinery for maintenance, and more than 7 months later, the refinery is yet to start producing fuel, and the Port Harcourt refinery was declared operational by the former Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC, Mele Kyari, in November 2024 after years of inactivity. Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Petroleum Company Limited, Bayo Ojulari, has assured Nigerians that ongoing price competition in the downstream petroleum sector will ultimately benefit consumers. He described current market tensions as a natural consequence of Nigeria's transition from total import dependence to domestic refining, while clarifying NNPCL's role in the deregulated markets. Ojulari adding that the company is no longer responsible for petroleum product pricing or regulation under the Petroleum Industry Act. He also said the NNPC has been instituted by the PIA to become a commercial company, which means a company that needs to complete profitability and no longer receives federation allocations and must raise finance independently like any other business. Nigeria's downstream petroleum sector has been gripped by fierce competition since September 2024, when Dangote Refinery, Africa's largest single-train refinery with 650,000 barrels per day capacity, began producing petrol locally. The price war intensified dramatically in December 2025, when Dangote slashed its export price from 970 naira to 699 per litre, forcing other players to follow suit or risk losing market share. Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project have filed a lawsuit against the 35 state governors and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, over their alleged failure to account for the spending of about 14 trillion naira realized as fuel subsidy savings from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. Sarab said the governors and the FCT minister have collected trillions of naira as increased allocations from the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee following the removal of fuel subsidy in May 2023. but that the funds have not translated into improved access to quality healthcare, education, and other basic services for poor and vulnerable Nigerians. The suit was filed last Friday at the Federal High Court in Lagos, and according to a statement signed on Sunday by SERAP's Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, urging the courts to direct and compel the respondents to disclose details of how the increased FAAC allocations, described as fuel subsidy savings, have been spent since mid-2023. SERAP argued in a suit that Nigerians have a right to know how public funds, including fuel subsidy savings, are spent by the state governments and the FCT administration, stressing that the savings from the removal of fuel subsidy ought to be spent solely for the benefit of poor and vulnerable Nigerians who are bearing the brunt of the policy. The organization cited constitutional provisions, including Section 13, Paragraph 15, of the Nigerian Constitution as amended, as well as Nigeria's obligations under the United Nations Convention Against Corruption to support its case for transparency and accountability. No date has been fixed for the hearing of the suit. Shipping branch of the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria has frowned at what it described as the continuous casualization of workers by employers of labor within the maritime sector. A statement by the head of media at MWUN, John Ikemefuna, the shipping branch president, Olufemi Abbas, described the current labor practices in the shipping sector as a slave-driven ideology that prioritizes corporate profit over human dignity. Abbas stressing that many employees are now bypassing labor regulations by outsourcing core duties to third-party contractors, adding that the contractors offer peanuts to workers, effectively institutionalizing casual labor under a different name, and also reiterated that while the shipping sector and terminal operators have consistently engaged in what he described as cruel, vicious, and callous labor practices. He warned that the maritime industry is currently witnessing a dangerous level of industrial manipulation, noting that the union would no longer tolerate these unethical strategies designed to exploit the workforce, stressing that the unethical labor practices have led to the steady erosion of permanent employment in the sector. And now to our international tidbits. Third person has died in Sweden after a powerful winter storm swept across Nordic countries, causing travel disruption and power outages. The Swedish Meteorological and Hydrological Institute issued alerts for strong winds for large parts of the northern half of the country as Storm Johannes hit, while for the North Regional Utility Company, HEMAB, said that one of its employees died in an accident while out working. Police also said a man in his 60s was taken to hospital after being hit by a tree while walking in a forest in Hofors, east central Sweden, and later died of his injuries. Tens of thousands of homes in Sweden, Norway, and Finland have been left without power as a result of the storm, while in Sweden, more than 40,000 homes were affected by power outages and numerous rail services were cancelled. In Norway's Nordland region, one of the most northerly counties in the country, the fire department responded to more than 200 weather-related incidents, while Storm Johannes cut power to around 23,000 homes in Nordland and a further 9,000 were without electricity in the inland region. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will meet Donald Trump in Florida on Sunday for the latest round of talks aimed at ending nearly 4 years of war with Russia. The pair will discuss an updated version of a U.S.-brokered peace plan, which Moscow is yet to support, as well as separate proposals for U.S. security guarantees. Their meeting at the U.S. President's Mar-a-Lago home follows intense Russian bombardment of Kyiv over the weekend, which Zelensky said is evidence that Moscow doesn't want peace. At a meeting in Florida, Zelensky is expected to raise security guarantees and territorial concessions for Ukraine, both of which are issues that Russia has previously been unwilling to compromise on, and will also discuss the new 20-point peace plan, a revised version of an earlier 28-point plan drafted by U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, which was widely seen as being too favorable to Russia. Control of Ukraine's eastern Donbass has been a major sticking point so far, But Zelensky has now said a free economic zone could be an option, while Moscow currently controls about 75% of the Donetsk region and some 99% of neighboring Luhansk. The regions are collectively known as Donbass, and the Kremlin has not commented on Zelensky's offer to withdraw troops from the eastern Donbass region if Russia pulls back too. But on Saturday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Ukraine was in no hurry to resolve this conflict peacefully, and if Kyiv did not want to resolve the conflict peacefully, Russia would accomplish its objectives militarily. And now to our sports news. Super Eagles coach Eric Chell has praised his team's intensity and control after Nigeria edged Tunisia 3-2 to reach the Africa Cup of Nations 2025 round of 16. Nigeria raced into a 3-0 lead and dominated for long spells, but were forced to dig deep as Tunisia mounted a late comeback in a tense first encounter, while Chell's side showed composure under pressure, holding firm after goals from Montasa, Talbi and Ali Abdi threatened to overturn Nigeria's early dominance. Lukman delivered the man of the match display, providing 2 assists and scoring once, underlining his growing influence closer to goal for the Super Eagles. Tunisia rallied late through Talbi's header and Adbi's VAR-awarded penalty, setting up a nervy finish. Nigeria survived, and the coach said that Nigeria's pressing game was central to their dominance for large periods of the match. Chelle also commended the players' mental strength after conceding twice in quick succession. And now to our entertainment news. Senior pastor of the Mountain of Liberation and Miracle Ministries, Chris Okafor, has publicly apologized to Nollywood actress Doris Ogala by kneeling before his congregation as he sought forgiveness for past mistakes. The apology comes amid a heated public feud that has dominated social media, with Ogala accusing Okafor of an affair, broken marriage promises, sharing explicit content, and offering her $10,000 to retract claims that she was hired by rival pastors to defame him. In a viral video shared by @Nigeria Stories on X on Sunday, Okafor is seen at the pulpit, microphone in hand, addressing the congregation, and the apology comes amid ongoing controversy sparked by Ogala's claims that Okafor promised to marry her after allegedly contributing to the breakdown of her previous relationship earlier this month. This followed the cleric's wedding to his new bride, identified as Pearl, which reportedly took place earlier in the week, and Okafor proceeded with the ceremony despite Ogala's viral accusations of betrayal, emotional manipulation, and reneging on a promise of marriage after an alleged long-term relationship. In several videos shared over the past earlier this month, Ogala tearfully accused Okafor of ruining her life following a relationship she claimed spanned several years, beginning around 2017, and further alleged that she ended her previous marriage at his urging and suffered emotional distress when the relationship was abruptly terminated. Nollywood actress and producer Orwell Ademola is dead. Ademola, 43, is said to have suffered a heart attack at her residence before she was taken to hospital. Also reacting, popular actress Midi Martins posted a photo of Ademola on Facebook, writing, French actress Brigitte Bardot dies at the age of 91. A statement from the Brigitte Bardot Foundation remembers her as a world-renowned actress who left behind a prestigious career to dedicate her life and energy to animal welfare. Paying tribute, President Emmanuel Macron says France is mourning a legend of the century. Bardot starred in a number of French cinema hits in the 1950s and 1960s, including And God Created Woman, becoming known as a symbol of sexual liberation. Later in life, she was criticized for making homophobic slurs and fined multiple times for inciting racial hatred. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Rivers State Police Command foil robbery in Oyibo local government area. Speaker Abbas condemns bomb blast killings in Zamfara State. Tinubu departs Lagos for Europe. Port Harcourt refinery supplies diesel, says NMDPRA. Winter storm kills 3 persons in Sweden. Chell, Lukman hail Nigeria 3-2 to Tunisia to win. Pastor Okafor publicly apologizes to actress Doris Ogala. I am Francis Neka. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, now X at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching.